I am Megan from Pennies and Salt Home and Homeschool, and I'm a mom to 6 kiddos, and we're getting ready to start our 10th year of homeschooling. But what some of you may not know about me is that I actually was previously a music educator in public school. Some of the benefits of music, most of them I'm going to talk about deal with literacy. I mentioned that when I got into my master's degree that I focused on early literacy in my master's, and it turned out to be a really interesting correlation because the very last class that I took for my master's was this really interesting class called Brain Compatibility and Learning. And in this class, we really delved into how the brain is affected in the learning process. And one of the things that we discussed and kind of read some studies on and everything was the direct correlation between music education and literacy. And you can see this in a lot of different ways. There are numerous, I feel like it's really endless amounts of studies out there that connect these two things. So, for example, I just put a few down here, but music and reading, one of the reasons that is because music and reading use some of the same brain networks to process. And what's interesting about that is that when I would have like kindergarten and first grade students in my classroom, there is this really odd but really cool direct correlation in a child's ability to keep the beat or to clap a rhythm correctly back to you. There's a big correlation there. You could almost identify the students that would end up having some type of learning difficulty when it came to reading. It was really interesting because a lot of them have this difficulty doing something as simple as keeping the beat. And I say simple because that was something we worked on literally every time they came in my classroom. And there are numerous studies about that specifically. But what's really interesting about that is that while that can be help to identify that, at the same time, if you have a child like my son who has severe dyslexia, it can actually help sometimes, not every single situation, but sometimes it can actually help to have music instruction, specifically like learning an instrument or something for a child who has a reading disability like dyslexia. It can actually help them sometimes because it helps solidify certain processes of tracking music and all of the things that go along with that. So it can help the reading process with them just being able to learn to play an instrument. So, and all of that is because the processes of creating and reading music are very, very similar. And when the brain is able to make connections in multiple areas, like I mentioned, if a child plays an instrument, then a lot of times they'll excel more or do better in an area like reading. There's also a lot of connections with math as well, but that is because when you can make connections in multiple areas, it enhances the overall learning process. So that is another reason why music can really be a great thing to add into your homeschool when you're learning something like history, to really understand the time and the culture. If you add music in there as well, if you're studying like the 1700s and learn about Mozart along the way, you're going to learn a lot just by combining the two and making those connections together. I have it broken down into 3 categories for ideas for incorporating music into your homeschool. I have hymn study, which I think is a very popular one, and I'm going to get into that more in a second. Also, music appreciation, and what I mean by that is more of like your general music instruction. And again, I'll get more into that in a second. And then, of course, the obvious one, which I think we think of a lot, which is studying a specific instrument.
Was this workshop beneficial to you? Let us know in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. All of your interaction really helps to get the word out there about Made to Homeschool, a community that is there to encourage, equip, and empower you on your homeschool journey. Go ahead and share the video too. But this is another really great video. You might want to go check it out next, or just go ahead and subscribe to make sure that you never miss a video when we have them coming out. Our membership offers you a lot. We can offer you some here. The membership link is in the description box.